Bulgario, za tebe te umraha. Една бе ти достойна зарад тях, и те за теб достойни, майко, бяха. I present you this text, which is found on a war monument in the Bulgarian capital Sofia, because it shows an interesting linguistic feature. It uses the so-called vocative case, not just once but twice. Simply put, the vocative case is when you call on someone or something. In many languages, one often finds this is done simply by intonation or by adding some kind of interjection, like "Hey John" or "Oh brother." More rare are languages where nouns and proper names themselves can be inflected, and thus take on a different shape than their normal nominative forms, like in this example, where the name of the country, Bulgaria, and the word Maika, mother, become Bulgario and Maiko because of the vocative case. European languages that use this type of vocative noun inflection inherited the feature from Proto-Indo-European. It was also found in ancient Greek, Latin, and Sanskrit, but has rather sadly disappeared in most languages today. The European languages that did preserve it include most Slavic languages, Baltic languages, and most languages of the Balkans region, regardless of subfamily, be it Slavic, Romance, Hellenic, or Albanian. Most of which also have noun inflections in other cases, like the genitive case and the dative case. I find the vocative noun inflection system interesting, not just from a linguistic perspective, but also socially and culturally, because besides its frequent use in informal speech, it also can invoke something respectful, even something ancient and poetic, something that is uniquely expressed through that grammatical case. Another example, which also involves the name of a country, and funnily enough also the word Maika, comes from Bulgaria's neighbor. Nu plânge Maică României, which is the title of a poem that was allegedly found on the body of a soldier who died in World War I. Here the name of the country is inflected in the vocative case by taking on an indefinite form. Romania becomes Românie. I will note here that for both the word Maika and the word Romania, a vocative form with a final O is also theoretically possible, Românio. More examples of vocative case country names from the Balkans. Pevaj Srbio, zemljo junaka. In this folk song, the A vowel in both Serbia and zemlja turns into an O again, like in the Bulgarian case. O moj Ščipni. Here, a northern dialect form of the name Albania, Ščipnija, again from a patriotic poem, loses the final A vowel, which is the definite article, turning the word into an indefinite form, Ščipni, grammatically similar to the Romanian example where Romania is inflected as Romanie. There's something else that stands out here. The word moi is not translated into English. That is because it is a local type of vocative particle that is used for emphasis in different Balkan languages when calling on someone or something, often in combination with nouns or names in the vocative case. These Balkanic vocative particles, which I have discussed on a previous occasion in more detail, can roughly be divided in two classes. B particles, like bre, be, b, vre, re, etc., which are really informal and used for people, and M particles like more, mari, moi, moi, etc., which are slightly less informal and used for people as well as for impersonal concepts like a country or a feeling. So the particles have a kind of double social connotation. They can either signal respect, intimacy, and admiration, like in the example, or signal informality or even rudeness when found in everyday speech. And they cannot be used in any formal setting. And the same counts also for names and nouns in the vocative case, but mostly the feminine ones. In daily life, it can be seen as impolite to inflect a woman's name in that grammatical case, and it is often avoided in urban environments in languages like Bulgarian or Romanian, though it hasn't completely disappeared. For example, someone called Alexa in the vocative case will be addressed as Alexo, Liliana, Liliano, Maria, Marie. For masculine nouns and names, which I have left undiscussed until now, the vocative case is much more widespread, both informally and formally. Kaksi Bogdane, Quo pravš be idiote, Stai mă omule, Sigur capitane. As you might have noticed, speaking broadly, the noun inflections in the vocative case tend to adhere to the following pattern. For feminine nouns, the final a vowel changes into an o, or disappears so it becomes an indefinite form. And for masculine nouns, ending in a consonant, a final e is added. This scheme applies mostly to the South Slavic languages and Romanian, although there are numerous exceptions and language-specific rules, and I haven't even touched upon plural nouns in the vocative case, which, like the masculine ones, are often used both formally and informally. Greek and Albanian seem to diverge more from the general trend, and especially in the latter language, vocative noun inflections are less widespread. It is actually not easy to find information on the Albanian vocative noun inflections, except for the fact that their use is limited. Nevertheless, I found a few more examples of it. So here's some more information on the vocative in the following languages, and some more examples that I thought were interesting to share or that drew my attention simply because they were new to me. In a number of these examples, we will also encounter the particles again. Starting in alphabetical order with Albanian. We've already seen that feminine nouns can lose their definite article, but there are also cases of the final a or sound changing into an o, following the general Balkan trend for feminine nouns, like the word nën, mother. Nëno moj, mbaj zi për vallan, me tre plumba na i vran. Where mother is a metaphor for the nation, to mourn is literally wear black, and the word plumba is clearly related to the Latin word for lead and also the English word plumber. Also common in traditional songs is morejaloi, where a final o is atypically attached to the root of a non-feminine noun, gjal, boy. Bulgarian, then, follows the scheme presented earlier. The vocative is actually the only noun case preserved in this Slavic language, besides the normal nominative case. Although it might be seen as impolite to inflect feminine nouns in the vocative case with regards to actual people, what is very normal is inflecting feminine nouns like mama or baba to mamo and babo. For masculine nouns, however, the vocative is often not just common, but even the only polite option when addressing people in certain situations, and this also applies to most of the other languages, like professor, professore. Some Bulgarian masculine nouns have a diverging ending in the vocative case. Gospodin, zdravete gospodi, and tsar, priatel and drugar become tsariu, priateliu and drugariu. Some vocative noun examples from Greek, which in that language, correct me if I'm wrong, applies mostly, if not exclusively, to masculine words. Kyrios, Mr. or Sir, in the vocative becomes Kyrie. Nikos, which ends also with os, however, turns Niko. And kathechitis, professor, becomes kathechita, a vocative ending preserved from ancient Greek. Romanian, again, follows the general trend, but for more respectful feminine forms, like addressing the nation itself, nearly always it takes on the indefinite variant, instead of the form ending in an o. Se trești, măi, Românie. Nevertheless, examples with an o also exist. O Moldovo ce jelesc. Masculine nouns can have different versions of vocative endings, so the word chef can become șefu, șefe, or șefule. In Romanian too, The vocative is obligatory in many formal cases, like when starting an official letter. Stimate domnule director. This also counts for doamnelor și domnilor, which uses plural vocative suffixes. In these formal settings, when addressing actual people, you never see vocative particles, in none of the languages. On the other hand, you do see these particles when the vocative is used in anger or insult. So, for purely demonstrative purposes, here's the vocative case for the word prost, fool, combined with the most rude vocative particles for masculine and feminine. Bă, prostule! Fă, proasto! Interesting to note is also vino, which is an imperative form of the verb a veni, to come. But strangely it has an o that resembles the vocative noun case, and it is unique among all Romanian verb forms. Serbian, finally, does not only follow the general trend when it comes to the vocative noun inflections, but also has a couple of unique rules, exceptions, and alternative suffixes. It also uses plural forms that are different depending on masculine, feminine, and neutral gender, and even Serbian has a plural vocative ending, especially for words for young people and animals, like the form momčići, lads, becoming momčad. As far as I can tell, the Serbian vocative noun inflection system, which probably to a large degree also applies in Montenegro, Bosnia, and Croatia, is the most extensive and complex in the Balkans. Here are some more vocative nouns that each have a particularity in Serbian. Muž, mužu, husband, so it gets an u suffix instead of an e. Bog, bože. Here the consonant changes from g to ž, an expression that is found in almost every Slavic language, even in languages like Russian, which for the rest do not have a vocative case anymore. And there are also words with a double consonant change. Čovek becoming čoveče. To finish, I'll leave you with a rough oversight scheme of when the vocative particles and noun cases are generally used in the Balkans. So the vocative particle is used informally, it's not used formally, and it is also used in poetic and folkloric contexts or when addressing impersonal objects or entities. The vocative noun case is used also informally. It is used formally only in a masculine form or in the indefinite form, and it is also used frequently in poetic folkloric contexts. That was it. Thank you for watching. Hi, ciao.